Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious Podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously. Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on today's episode of the Ambitchious Podcast, we are going deeper. We are going more raw, more real, more vulnerable with our next installment of all the incredible journal prompts that I created for you for your inner child healing and reparenting your inner child energy. Because let me tell you something, we got to leave this shit in the past. We are going into 2025, which is the year of the snake. Every time that there is a year of the snake, which happens, every so many years, the snake's skin has to shed, and it will shed whether we surrender to it shedding or we fight it tooth and nail. And I would rather be in a surrenderful energy because I am exhausted. I'm sick of fighting. I am sick of scratching and scraping and clawing. The vibes are not, it's not the vibe, guys. It's just not. And really, I think the best thing that we as ambitious women and men can do for ourselves is to heal this once and for all. Now, obviously, are there going to be things that come up in your future that are going to be triggering, that are going to bring you back to these places? Absolutely. But I think that if we make the reparentification and the, inner child healing really happen, it's going to change the game. Okay. So the last couple episodes, we've talked about what is parentified children, who are they? How to heal that. And part of healing that is these shadow work journal prompts. I am a huge worker of the shadow. I'm not so much a light worker. I work in the darkness. When you work in the dark places, the recesses of your psyche, that's when the most work can be done. All of this happy horseshit, namaste, la-di-da, om, there's a place for it. But I think that when you have this much, just sadness and just sickness, and I don't mean sickness like I have a cough. I'm talking about spiritual sickness, energetic sickness. We gotta be our own best advocates. We have to be the ones that heal ourselves. So we're going to get into it. And I'm going to also be raw, real, and vulnerable and really talk about how I'm working on my own shit while we go through these journal prompts. So get out your journal and get out a writing utensil and let's do this work. Okay. So what I think you should do is listen to this podcast all the way through, think about it, then listen to it again, and then stop at each question, answer the question, and then go to the next question. Stop the podcast again, answer the question, go to the next question. Or you could also do one journal prompt a day for the rest of 2024 into 2025. Whatever you have time for. I don't care. Just do the work. Okay. So the next questions that we're going to be asking are as follows. So this is a really good one. So last time we talked about was about self-esteem and different things. Now we're going to get into like making yourself feel safe, making yourself feel reassured and nurtured. Okay. So the first journal prompt is, what are 3 ways that you can make yourself feel safe, reassured, and nurtured today? So what are 3 ways that you can make to yourself feel safe, reassured, and nurtured today? So for me, and I talked about this on my live today on the Ambitchious app, I talked about how I really am doubling down on the things that make me feel free and full and whole. What are those things for me? So for me, it's definitely getting a good night's sleep, right? Having my sleep rituals. It's getting up in the morning and having my coffee and doing my what we call ambitchuals, which are our morning rituals. doing my habituals, right? Saying my ambitious abundance affirmation, doing my rosary. I pray every day, doing my breath work, doing my meditation, eating really healthy, fueling my body with food that makes me feel alive and just holistic and a lot of energy. Eating an inflammatory type diet where it's more high in protein, no sugar, no alcohol, pretty much no starchy carbs, no food that's, frankenfood that was made in a lab, as close to how it comes from nature as possible. Moving my body with intention, whether it's lifting weights or doing cardio or stretching, doing yoga. I have a partial tear of my right rotator cuff right now, so I'm doing a lot of PT for that. Taking my supplements, spending time with people who make me feel good. I don't know what the fuck is going on with people lately, but people are really audacious. They say the craziest fucking shit, and you're just like, dude, do you hear yourself? Like, what you just said is so fucking rude. And that means, like, I used to say, like, fucking call them to the carpet. And it's like, you know what? No, that's how God shows you how people are. So as soon as someone says something I don't like, or that's like off color, I'm just like, you know what? I like you, but we're not going to be friends. We're not going to be going out to dinner. We're not going to be hanging out. Our husbands aren't going to be friends. Like, it's not the vibe. Right. And then just doing the best work when I am working, doing the best work possible with my clients, whether that is in my business mentorship program, where I help take women's businesses in the service industry to the next level. I help them hybridize their businesses, with an app, with different virtual offerings, things like that, helping them take their brick and mortar businesses to the next level. It's getting on the app every day and doing that coaching and showing up to my classes at Katie Boyd's Misfit Club and just killing it, having amazing events, doing my healing sessions, doing my nutrition plans, like just really being the best at my business that I can be, and then showing up to the highest ability in my life with all the people that I love the most, my husband, my family, my closest circle of friends, my closest clients. That for me is how I'm going to make myself feel safe and reassured and nurtured today. So that's my personal 2 cents, but obviously, you have a much different life than I have. So, answer the question to the best of your ability. But I always like to go over what I'm doing so it inspires you to answer your journal prompts the best that you can. The next question is, did you ever have anyone let you down as a child, and have you forgiven them? Does what they did still hurt? So did anyone ever let you down as a child? Plenty of people. Absolutely. 100%. God, there's so many people that let me down. It's too many to name. But I think, yes, I pretty much have forgiven everyone in my life because I know that harboring that resentment is like me taking poison, expecting my enemy to die. It's only hurting me. And every so often I do get these little glimpses of the past where I'm just like, why the hell did that person do that to me? Or yeah, so it does definitely still hurt. I definitely still think about these types of things every day. I think it's just part of your psyche, how your brain works. Like these little flashes of things will, pop in at the most random times. But I definitely have, I'm not going to say who, because there's, like I said, there's too many to name. But yes, I have pretty much forgiven them. And as things come up, as they always will, I work on it being a process of forgiving people and trying to mitigate those thoughts as much as I possibly can out of my mind so it doesn't fuck up my happy life now. Because that's the worst thing, right? You have this amazing, beautiful, happy life now, and you're still thinking about the shit that happened to you 30, 40 years ago, right? It's not helping you be ambitious. It's not helping you be the best version of yourself, right? The next one was, were you highly sensitive as a child? Yes, I was, but I learned to bottle that up because I knew that being highly sensitive was not going to help me protect myself, and it wasn't going to help me do the things that I needed to do to become the successful woman that I am today. I'm now, as an adult, as an elder in this community, allowing myself to be more sensitive because I know that being more sensitive is part of the healing. But I was definitely 100% a sensitive child. And I still am, but now I'm embracing it more. The next question here is, what are 3 things from your childhood that you're grateful for? Oh my gosh, so many things. And that's the thing too. I want you guys to understand. I had a really awesome childhood. There was definitely some amazing parts of my childhood. But there was bad parts too. I don't want everybody to think that like, oh, I just had this fucked up childhood. It's not true whatsoever. 3 things that I'm really grateful for. One is how much my mom sacrificed in her life to like keep our family going. My dad dealt with a lot of addiction and alcoholism when I was young, and my mom definitely was like a force to be reckoned with in our home. She's very strong and very tough, and I wish that my mom didn't have to be like that. That's one thing I really do feel bad. Like, oh, I think about that a lot. Like, wish my mom didn't have to, that wasn't her reality. But obviously, she signed this life contract before she came here. So you can't take that away from anyone. But definitely how strong my mom was, and just, always working so hard so that we could have great things. Like, one thing that she really wanted from me is she always worked so hard to pay for, like my vocal lessons and my acting lessons when I was in high school and even like in middle school. And she always, I always had beautiful gowns when I competed in pageants and things like that. So I'm definitely super grateful for that. I'm also super grateful. I had parents, even though they were fucked up sometimes. I love you, mom and dad, but they were always super involved with us, like in our sports and our high school kind of experience and stuff like that. I'm very grateful for that. And also I'm very grateful for having like really great grandparents. Like I always talk about my Nana Pearl. My other grandparents, I didn't have that much time with them like I would have liked to, but I'm definitely super grateful for that as well. The next question here is, what are some ways you can be more creative as an adult? I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I love being creative, but I feel like the only way that I can be creative is I give myself the time to create. So for me, I try not to pack jam every day of my life into within an inch of its life. Like a lot of people just are like, okay, I'm going to get everything done today and I'm going to do it all in one day. And I used to be that way. And I'm slowly trying to unwind myself out of that energy. Because to be creative, you have to be quiet and still. And that's how God works through you. And so for me, creativity comes from, I love to do like interior design in my home, or I love to decorate for holidays. That's really fun. Or have events at my studio. Like I just had a Witchapalooza at my studio where I did this beautiful witches circle where, there was like all these beautiful flowers and, I definitely like love doing things like that, creating witch boxes, creating bitch boxes, writing, cooking is very creative for me. So obviously creativity as an adult is very different than creativity as a child, but I also think that there's some childlike things that we can do still that are going to help us reparent that wounded inner child as well. The next question is, what did you daydream about as a child? For me, I always wanted to be an entertainer of some sort. And while I'm not, a Broadway star or anything like that, I definitely still to this day, like entertain a lot. I sing when I do sound healing. I speak a ton. I'm always speaking. So I'm definitely always entertaining, but definitely, I would say daydreaming was about and being an entertainer, singing, dancing, acting, entertaining. The next question here is, how can you gain closure from the times you faced hardships? For me, it's really about prayer. It's about gratitude. It's about having better experiences as an adult and making sure that that's something I really focus on. So that's how, for me, I gain closure from hardships or trauma as a child. The next question is, what fascinated you the most as a child? Oh my God, what fascinated me the most? This is a hard question. I think that the first thing off the top of my head is I think it's very fascinating that people can come from nothing and make something out of themselves and like change their lives and become wealthy and powerful and really change the trajectory of other people's lives by creating something amazing or giving some type of service. I always thought, like, how could this person come from this bad place and become so powerful, intelligent, wealthy, and successful? I always was really fascinated by that as a child. The next question is, what was your first memory of feeling ashamed? Oh my God. This is hard, man. These are hard questions. What was my first memory of feeling ashamed? Oh my God. I definitely was bigger than the other girls growing up. Like I was taller and just like bigger. I think I just hit puberty like a hell of a lot earlier than like the other girls in my class. So I definitely think there was always like a shameful energy about how I wasn't small and petite like the other girls. And that definitely led me down the path that I'm on now, which is like health and wellness and always trying to like make yourself better. Because when I figured out that you could like work out and eat right and like get your body into this like really amazing shape, that really changed the trajectory of my life. But I always remember being like the bigger girl, and I never liked that. And I felt very ashamed of that, if I have to be totally honest. Now I'm happy I'm a big bitch. But when you're little and all the other girls have like little nipples and they don't even have like a titty, not even a lady lump, and you're just like, look at these knockers, and you're like 12, like it's a little weird, you know? The next question is, how can you be kinder to yourself and your inner child? Oh, fuck you. How can I be kinder to myself and my inner child? As I get older, I definitely really see that I have to take it upon myself to give myself grace, because no one is going to give me grace. No one is going to give me grace. And that's why sometimes like when I definitely am a type of bitch that likes to beat herself up. That's just like part of my personality. And I think a lot of it comes from my trauma and like just having inner child healing wounds and things like that. But I definitely think that as I get older, giving myself more time to like make things happen, knowing that not everything is like a snap of a finger. And just like when I do procrastinate or I do self-sabotage or I do things that aren't so fresh, I try to like just be kinder and like more loving to myself and just be like, you know, you're a human being. Not everything is perfect. There's going to be days where you're not going to be the best at what you're doing, and that's okay. I definitely revert back to the 4 Agreements, which is one of the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's such a great book. It's easy read. It's so fucking smart. But he says, you know, what was it? It's like always do your best. Okay. So always doing your best to me means like your best on a day when you're sick or hurt or something's going on is still your best. And there's going to be days where you feel like $1,000,000 and your best is like next level. And those are both equivalent. So your best is always your best, no matter what you're feeling. And I think that that is something that I really try to hang on to, because it's really easy just to be like, you suck, you're a piece of shit, you're lazy, and just really beat yourself up. And I've noticed that as I get older, those old fuck me pumps, like they're just not working anymore, as Amy Winehouse would say, you know, just not working anymore. Okay. The next question here. I hope you guys are enjoying this, because this is good for me too, to do this with you. How did you cope with your trauma as a child? Describe anything you did to protect yourself to survive. Okay, so for me, what happened was my parents would fight a lot. There was like a lot of chaos and tumultuousness, like definitely a lot of aggression in my house, especially when my dad was drinking. And for me, what I would do is I would go in my room and I would rip my whole entire room apart, and I would like clean it, like pristinely clean it, and make sure everything was like perfect and everything was organized. Or I would just like move around the furniture because it would like shift the energy. And that, as a child, it was like something I could control. So definitely cleaning and organization helped me feel some semblance of control in my life. And it's funny because now, as I'm an elder, I do the same exact thing when I feel crazy. I always clean and organize, and that just like refreshes me. And I know a lot of you guys out there in Ambitchious land probably do the same. So for me, it was definitely the cleaning and the organization to feel control. And also like being that mediator in between my parents, like always trying to be the peacemaker in my household growing up, that definitely helped me protect myself and really like not feel the feelings that I was probably should have felt. The next question is, what coping mechanisms did you form in childhood that still affect you today? Definitely hypervigilance. Like I couldn't really trust anyone because everyone was like volatile. So I would just be like, fuck it. I can't rely on anyone. So I'm definitely just going to do it myself, which that as an adult, it does not serve you. Being hypervigilant and being in your masculine all the time, for me, does not serve me whatsoever. It makes me feel cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I still revert back to it a lot. But I've noticed as I get older and I'm opening myself up to more healing modalities, that it's something that I don't do as much. I still definitely do it, but I don't do it as much. The next question is, what specific emotions do you associate with your inner child? Oh, God. Patheticness, weakness, not enoughness, sabotage, procrastination, perfectionism are definitely all things that come up for me. You know, the emotion of like not feeling enough, not feeling worthy, just sadness, depression, anger, aggression, anxiety. Definitely all those feelings come up for me. And if you really peel the onion down to its nub, it's all about fear. It's always about fear. The next question is, how do the negative emotions surrounding your childhood manifest in the way that you think and behave today? I definitely don't trust a lot of people. Hashtag no new friends. And that's the sad part, because obviously I'm joking, but it takes a lot. You have to really prove to me that and I know that I don't want to be like, I'm an elitist and I'm better than everybody. And like, you should have to prove to me that like you're worthy to be in my life, but like you do. Because I don't trust people and I've been burned so fucking hard. Betrayal trauma is my number one trauma. So definitely that is not the vibe. So I would say that. The next question here is, what negative messages were you sent about yourself or the world? Everyone's out to get you. Everyone's going to use you. They're going to abuse you. They're going to besmirch you. They're going to talk about you. They're going to hurt you. No one really loves you. They always love themselves more than they love you. You really can't rely on anyone. You really can't trust anyone. So it's better off just like always having a backup or always just doing it yourself. Hey, I'm being fucking honest with you guys, man. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, but like, this is real shit. Like, these are the things that go through my mind, and I think I'm pretty successful and I'm pretty much a leader in this space. And still to this day, I have these negative messages every day. The next one is, do these negative messages affect the way that you view yourself in the world now? 50-50. If I'm tired and I'm really feeling beat up and I'm feeling kind of like anxious or depressed or just overwhelmed, I definitely know that I can tend to be more a negative I run on more negative emotions and positive emotions. I definitely gain a lot of my strength and diligence and determination and tenacity from a place of anger and a place of like aggression more than a place of love and light. So I definitely like conjure up a lot of like my beast mode mentality from like those dark crevices of my psyche. So yeah, definitely they do affect me. But I think now it's like 50-50, where when I was younger, like say 20 years ago, everything was about aggression and just being like a motherfucker. And as I get older, I think you just start to soften naturally, but then you're also on a spiritual journey. So you want to soften, because it doesn't feel good to feel rigid and hard all the time. Flexibility. I've done podcasts about this. Being more flexible and open it's more expansive than being, tight and constricted. The next one was, were there any experiences that felt like a direct hit to your self-esteem and self-worth? Yeah, definitely a lot when I was a child, but it's crazy. More when I was like a young adult, like from the ages of like 14 to like probably 24, like that 10-year span, I definitely like a lot of blows to my self-esteem and self-worth, and a lot of them had to do with like men I was dating, feeling a certain way about the way I looked, about my body. I've talked about this before when I was dating this professional bodybuilder, and I saw him talking to another bodybuilder friend in the gym one day, and I was like, oh, what were you guys talking about? And he was like, oh, so and so just said like if you lost like 10 more pounds you'd be like a 10, meaning like on a scale of 1 to 10. And like, instead of me being like, fuck you, like, why am I even dating you, you piece of shit? I was like, okay, daddy, I will lose 10 more pounds. And then that's why when anyone who talks about what I'm eating, anyone talks about my workout schedule or anything that has to do with my body, I probably am not going to be close friends with you, because I have such deeply rooted, disordered eating and body dysmorphia. And that's why I'm really great at what I do as a coach, but I'm not going to be friends with people that bring up those parts of my life that I don't want to really think about anymore, that I've really worked so hard on healing. The next question is, how is your inner child coping with the residual feelings of trauma now? Like I said, they're definitely still there. They're just not as pronounced as they were maybe 10 years ago, or even a year ago. I've definitely always doing my healing work, and healing work is not for the faint of heart, guys. When you go on a healing journey, I think people think it's like, oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. No, it's like the opposite. It's horrible. That's why I tell people, like, are you sure you want to get yourself involved in this? Because it's going to be pretty fucked up. And, the strong ones do it, and they're the ones that like go to the next level, but it's not easy, man. It's definitely not easy. The next question here is, what is your inner child telling you they need in the form of validation, comfort, or healing? I definitely want to have more conversations with my mom and dad. That's something that's like on my agenda, and I'm going to talk to them about it. Like I said, I want to have them on the podcast. It's just like getting them to my house and sitting them down and making them do this work, and them not thinking I'm bamboozling them or trying to embarrass them, because I love my mother and father so much. And I just think it would be so healing for all of us to like do this work together. And I think it would also help other people heal and help other people do the same, maybe with their mother and father or their caretakers or whatever. But so definitely, I think that I really want to have more conversations with my mom and dad, and hopefully that will happen over the next couple months. Fingers crossed is one of my goals. Like I said before, definitely taking it easier on myself, not being so rigid, not being so mean, giving myself more grace. But also realizing like when I'm self-sabotaging because I'm in a place of fear or not enoughness or low self-esteem or exhaustion, and being, I don't know about you, but like when I'm tired, I'm more easily triggered than when I'm like feeling my best. And I will tell you, when you're in pain, like I've had some pain things in the last couple of years. Like I had a thing with my foot a couple of years ago, and I had a thing with my digestive system, and I have now this partial tear of my rotator cuff. Anytime you're in pain, I've noticed your bullshit meter is way less. Like I can't put up with the shit that I used to put up with when I'm feeling my best self. Exhaustion from pain actually really, to me, wears me out. So definitely just being a little bit more easy with myself, and like I said, giving myself that grace. And the last question here today is, do you notice any patterns about yourself or your life that stem from your childhood trauma? Yes, definitely. I'm an avoider. Like if things get too hard, I definitely want to like pack up and run away. I've gotten better about it. Like I said, I always used to run away when I was a little kid. You can ask my mom and dad. I would always like pack a bag and be like, but I'm out of here. And I would run away. And then when my snacks would run out, I would be like, oh God, I'm hungry. I'm coming back home. But I definitely notice that when I get super sad, overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, just worn out, I fantasize about like just like getting the fuck out of here and being like changing my name and like living in some kind of like obscure European part of like Portugal. Maybe that will happen someday. But I definitely feel myself being like an escape artist when it comes to that kind of stuff, or even just like wanting to get out of my house and like stop working for a couple of days and like go to a hotel and like to have a change of scenery. Like there's definitely like an escape energy and like a bouncing out of reality energy that I definitely know that stems from my childhood trauma. And I'm sure a lot of you out there in Ambitchious Land feel exactly the same way. I cannot tell you how much you have to do this work. This is going to change your life forever. I pinky swear promise you. Please just trust me. I've been doing this work for a really long time. And I think that a lot of my success as an adult comes from doing this inner child healing work. It's not easy, guys. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. But if you really just stand in your power and say, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to change the trajectory of the rest of your life. And please share this podcast with anyone who, everyone needs inner child healing work. So just share this podcast. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star written review wherever you listen to this podcast. Share it with your friends, email it to people, share it on your social media, and make the Ambitchious movement an even bigger one. And let's heal together. Okay, so on next week's podcast, we're going to do our last part of journal prompts. And then our last podcast of the season, I have this amazing woman. Her name is Alex Vieira. She's going to be coming and talking about nervous system regulation, which is another thing that I've been doing to help me heal. And I think you guys are going to think this is so important and so timely, especially when it's going to be launching, which is right around Christmas time. All right. I love you guys. Have an amazing week. And don't forget to stay ambitious. And I will see you next Tuesday.